It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity.
Hello, model citizens. Welcome to Humanity Junction. I hope everyone is having a fantastic holiday season. Tonight on Trains and Tech, I got a couple of items to both kind of unbox and just show, as well as I've got a couple of layout updates to share, and then we'll get into some paperwork and talk about version 3.1, which is the current, but I am sure not the last one. So I guess we should just jump right into things. Let's look at what I've got on the bench. First thing everyone will notice is this neat little challenge coin that I got. I thought this was really interesting, sent to me by Cameron from Caboose 121. The gentleman here saying, why jump into things? You should just wait. What am I waiting for, Cameron? You're here, which means it's time to go. It's almost got like a stained glass look to it. Respect our past, building our future. I guess it's recognized in Colorado Model Railroad Museum. I've always thought that it would be interesting, like people give out stickers, to be able to give out challenge coins. I haven't delved into it yet. I knew it I'm curious. I guess I'm curious, like, would this be something that people would be interested in? Like, if I got challenge coins to hand out? Or is it kind of like a lot of the things that we have in model railroading where they, they go in a drawer somewhere, and 20 years from now, when your kids are cleaning out the drawers and they find the stuff, they go, oh, I wonder what this is. Thomas Splitrock says, I like challenge coins. Think a coin just ends up in a junk drawer. Yeah, they are not cheap to make. But, I mean, I don't know. Has stickers run its course and it's time to move on to something else? Speaking about moving on, oh yeah, so that is probably a really good way to do it. Is Joey from Late Night has a laser cutter. If you don't know, Joey makes some kits, Late Night Hobbies, and you could get challenge coins that were cut out of MDF. Interesting. I got a package here, and of course I forgot to pull the knife out that I meant to pull out before I started the stream, because as always, I am just so well prepared for whatever we are going to find on this show. So let's cut into this box. This box came from across the pond. Fairly inexpensive items. If I had a 3D printer, could have printed them myself. But basically what happened is I've got this car float behind me, and what I'm doing right now is I've got these two transfer cabooses that John Farrington painted up for me in the Riverside transfer scheme, and I put them on the end of the track to block off the tracks so that when the car float is not in the dock, imaginary, it doesn't go anywhere, it's fixed, but when the car float is not in the dock, it prevents either railroad stuff or somebody driving their car can't drive off the end. I know, like, some people are like, oh, that's not prototypical. Well, it turns out it actually is. I went over to Dave Ramos's layout, who has done a significant amount of research on this, and Erie 28th Street used to put boxcars to block the tracks, because people used to actually drive down Erie 28th Street, drive right off the end of the transfer bridge. So for now, I was using those, but what I really wanted to build was some like little fences that, like, people could set and move fences to block off everything. So yes, if I could have asked people with 3D printers, I'm trying to limit my asks. I don't want to, like, overwhelm just everybody by asking for stuff. So when things are cheap enough and I don't need them right away, I just sort of figured I'd wait, and not something that's needed right away. As I said, I'm currently just using the transfer cabooses, so I may or may not use them long term for this purpose, just to add that as an operational element, just because it's kind of fun to have little operational elements like that on your layout. Just take a little bit of an aside. I was gonna take that X-Acto knife and just, like, put it down on my layout, and then I thought to myself, I've been trying really hard not to just pile random things on the layout. I've got the layout cleaned up. People are coming over on Saturday to operate on the layout. I don't need to put more stuff on the layout to operate on the layout, or to then have to clean up the layout. So I put it on the table on the side. So now I have to clean up the table, but at least I don't have to clean up the layout. So these items, oh look, these are actually come in nice little plastic containers. So I got two different styles of barricades. I got kind of the typical traffic works, caution barricade. And then I got what they're calling these crash barriers, which aren't, like, in my mind, they're not really crash barriers. They also look to be incredibly tiny. Oh, they're still on the thing. Yeah, I mean, these are just, they're N scale, right? But apparently I didn't realize I'm going to have to actually put these together. Yeah, I do need more structures on the layout. I'm getting there. You need to have a short and not know where it is. Oh, yeah. Speaking of that, Bernard is having his first live stream of the year on New Year's Day at 7 o'clock. And we learned today that he is tearing down his layout that's in his basement. And he was having some problem. He wanted to run one last train. So he's actually going to go to his office tomorrow, grab his actual throttle, bring it back. And if he still can't get it running, I told him, give me a call. We'll work through it, not on a live stream, and we'll get his layout going. But yeah, I forget sometimes these barriers are insanely small. This is going to be a little bit like me putting together N-scale pallets, and we all know how that goes. Yeah, John, it is sad, but he also, if you don't know, if you haven't been to Amherst, he's actually really getting into what's that called? Fremo. So he's going to be doing a lot of different Fremo modules and different things like that instead of having a basement empire. Like a lot of people find, like, they just don't have time for basement empires, and he wants to really enjoy it and not feel like it's a burden. So, he's making the choice to do that. Okay, so I got these two different kinds. Man, these are tiny. Yeah, I might be using those transfer cabooses for a while because these are tiny, and I don't know that I'm going to have the patience to put them together, but they come in these nice little boxes, so that's a good thing. I did also get, and these look like they are fully assembled, I did get these power transformer cabinets, just as a little bit of some kind of roadside, a little roadside interest for things. But yeah, so that's one of the items that I just opened. Tammy, are you still here by any chance, or did you have to step out? Just we'll wait, Cameron, for Tammy. We didn't wait for you, but we'll wait for her. Okay, so she's still here. Yesterday, I got a box in the mail from eBay. I thought it was these items, which is a little tiny box. But it was a big box, and I got so confused, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, let's just play the video, and you'll see what arrived. Was that somebody knocking on the door? Doesn't look like anybody's there. Again? What was that? There's nobody there again. I don't know what's... Oh, there you are. I didn't see you down there. It's Travel Train Fun Barbie. Hello, Barbie. Welcome to my layout. I wasn't expecting you today. Barbie, did you have a good trip? I hope your arms aren't too tired from all that, Oh, wait. You traveled via train to get here. I didn't know Barbie went on the trains. Well, Barbie, I hope you can stick around until tomorrow when I do my live stream. I think the people would really like to get to meet you. Barbie, thank you so much for coming to visit. I really appreciate it. I hope you can stay for a little while.
Barbie, wait! Why are you leaving, Barbie? Don't leave!
I, I, I don't even... So if you don't know, there's been this long-running joke between Tammy and I and Ray that Tammy was going to build a Barbie dream castle. She was building a layout using pink foam, and she kept saying it was going to be a castle layout. And I said, "Oh, it's going to be the Barbie castle," and she was, a little bit offended. So today, or not today, actually, yesterday, Travel Train Fun Barbie showed up. No, that was not a scripted video. That was actually real time, exactly what happened when Barbie showed up. Tammy says that I started it. I don't think I did, but I'll take it. So Travel Train Barbie is now here. Anybody that wants a tour of my layout or wants to take an excursion train to my layout, they can get escorted from Travel Train Fun Barbie right to my layout. So I don't even know. I No, it didn't start with ice cream. Ice cream was no, ice cream was long after it started. I guess it started 2 years ago, almost a year, at least a year and a half ago. At least a year and a half ago it started. So, Bernard, not that kind. Yeah, I'm wondering that a little bit too. I don't know what, like, this is apparently completely unopened, never opened, which is why I didn't open it. I mean, Tammy might have sent me a $1 million Barbie for all I know. So I probably should look into it before I open it, but thinking it's going to become a thing. Yeah, I think it already has become a thing. Right, yeah. It's just like buying model trains, right? They're going to be a great investment. For every 40-foot car I buy today, it is only going to increase in value in the future, which is why you put metal wheels on them, you weather them, you do all kinds of stuff to them. And 20 years from now, my wife will be able to come down to this room. She will be able to look at all the stuff and go, wow, I'm going to be a millionaire now. Look at all of the stuff he bought. Because the thing that I need more than anything is more 40-foot boxcars. So these are the two 40-foot boxcars that I bought in the last week. I do have a bunch of Maine East Central stuff on my layout. I do have some Boston and Maine stuff as well. Got some Maine East Central locomotives. I have similar Maine East Central cars, but the cars I have are actually from Atlas. This one was from Microtrains, so I saw this and I just had to buy it. I also saw this car. It is the Pennsylvania Don't Stand Me Still car, weathered from Microtrains. These are two of their newer releases. So yes, 40-foot boxcars because I needed more 40-foot boxcars. But Ed, so funny you say that, Ed. I have, I think they're like 51-foot or whatever they are, the breast cancer awareness cars. And I've got a couple. I've got I think I have like 4 box cars, and I've got the TTTX well car, all pink. The problem is I'm trying to keep the railroad to like 50 feet and under. And all those cars are over 50 feet. So they're in my collection, but I'm not running them on this railroad. In the future, when I can have my huge mega N-scale basement layout. I need to buy another 1,000 cars, and I can start running 60-foot cars and 89-foot trash cars and all kinds of stuff like that. I'll be able to run those. But in the meantime, I need some 40-foot pink cars. I don't have any. No, Sparky. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be doing any giveaways tonight. As I mentioned, you know, I need more 40-foot boxcars, right? So that is the last time you will ever see me open a box with 40-foot boxcars in it. At least until next week. You will not see me anyway. Let's go on to one of the next things I have to open. This here is a box of glue. This glue was recommended to me by Steve 87th PSAP's wife. She does crafting, and I knew that she did crafting, so I reached out to her and I said, I need to do this little cardstock project, and I wanted something that would glue cardstock together but not become brittle. And I was told that this glue was absolutely the thing to choose, but what really sold me on it, it's called Bearly Art, B-E-A-R-L-Y Art, but it comes in a bear. This is the refill bottle. It is Pat tested. I don't know who Pat is. Maybe Pat is the bear. But you get the smaller bottle. You get this these applicators and stuff like that. So if you do any cardstock or like paper structures or modeling or anything like that, I highly recommend this glue. Again, the recommendation came from Steve 87th PSAP's wife, but I have I've really enjoyed it. It tastes really good. You can use it just like honey in your tea. No, don't eat the glue. Do not eat the glue. That was just a joke. I do think it is some kind of PVA glue, so it's probably non-toxic, but you know, I don't eat the glue. That was good. It's just water. Yeah, exactly. There's one more thing on the table here that I want to open before we get into other things, and we've got plenty of time left. I purchased this railroad crossing sign. Violators will be derailed. I got this to put outside in the hallway when I'm having op sessions. I just kind of thought it would be sort of a fun little thing to have outside. I like to put the snacks actually outside the room. The room that I'm in is, 8 feet by 9 feet, not a lot of space. If I had a table full of food and drinks in the center, probably get knocked over. You know, gives people an excuse to leave the room for a second. So I'm going to put this basically right over the food and drink table right outside the room. Hopefully it will also prevent people from swiping the food and stuff, because it is a public hallway out there. I also got this magnet, which doesn't apparently stick to this sign. Danger, look out for trains. I'm going to put this on the door. Just little tiny things to kind of help identify, that you're in the right place, right? It's just kind of the way it is. Okay, so nothing more to open today. So should we talk about some layout updates that I've been working on? So there are things that I need to do, and then there are things that I am doing. And the things that I am doing don't always line up with the things that I need to be doing. That said, I've been doing some things that I think have improved the layout. So the first thing is this that you see right back here. It's not a great angle to see it. I don't have a really great angle of it, but basically what I did is I got, I could get the box, right? I could show you the front of the box. I got an urban retaining wall. So this urban retaining wall I thought would be a good thing to use to separate the yard, what is Croton Harmon Yard, from what is theoretically, this is hundreds of miles, not hundreds of miles, but hundreds of miles north of this, right? So to give them some separation, I'd always kind of been looking to either put up some trees or, put something in there so that, it gave a sense of space and distance. So I need to paint this up. There are railings that are going to go on top of it that'll make it a little taller. You can still see over it to see the cars. So, it's not like it'll be in the way. This is what, yeah, it doesn't exist in real life. Exactly. It's kind of a half a black backdrop. Let's see, actually, maybe this camera view. So I do have this other camera up here, coming across, so you can kind of see it stops right here. What I did as well is there is a bridge kit that kind of goes with this kit. And what I'm going to do, I think, is put the bridge up over here to give it kind of a sense of like when you're coming at it from this direction, that it kind of blocks some space. And it's hard to make out. Let's see if I grab a light. Let's see if you can see it in the corner or not. It's hard to make out, but back here in the corner, this is a late night hobbies kit. And I'm using it kind of as the, one of the work facilities, the industrial facilities at the end of this yard. And it's what is, it's holding up the retaining wall. So one day we will get that retaining wall painted, but in the meantime, it's just there and it's nice, and, you can kind of, you can see behind it, and it, and it works out well. So speaking of cameras, what do you say? Did you leave enough space for fingers to fix derails? You can pull it out. You can easily pull it out to the end here. So you can always reach it. I am not worried about if it derails back here, you can pick it up and move it. Really not gonna be an issue. But yeah, I really focused a lot on this layout about creating some, extra space and distance and that sort of element to the layout. But so back to cameras, as you guys know, I have a couple of cameras on the layout, but I need more, right? I mean, like, who has enough cameras on their layout ever? So I got this little area over here. This is the south end of the layout with the car float. This back here is the IRT powerhouse. And the IRT powerhouse is going to be, there's inside tracks and there's an outside track. The problem with the inside tracks, even with the top off, you can't really see inside. And I was talking to the gentleman that is going to eventually kind of build this, or not really build it, but print out the pieces so that we can put it together. And we were talking about, like, how can we see inside this? Like what can we do? So on some of the layouts that I go to, various different layouts in the area, a lot of people use like backup cameras and little cameras like that. One of the cameras that I saw online that they have now are these baby cameras. So you strap the camera to the backrest in your car, and it points back towards the baby, and then you could run the monitor up to the front. So I got this little camera. Let's turn it on. So I don't know if you could tell, screen just came on up here in the little corner. The camera is actually mounted under here in this area right here. But then it gives a good view. Let me move this over just so I don't make Dennis dizzy, although I don't think Dennis is here. And of course there's a glare on it, but let's try and make this. Come on, we're trying to do good here. All right. Stop shaking. Okay. So there's the camera. There's a glare on it right now that won't be there if I can figure out where the glare is coming from. In person, you don't see the glare. Of course, the glare is, there we go, kind of ish, sort of. Anyway, you can see the cars. You can see the cars moving. So it serves its purpose well. You will be able to see, like, are there cars back there? Are there not cars back there? And it's all good. 30 might be enough. Was that, did I say how much it cost? This is a $30 camera. So I, didn't spend a lot of money on it. Most of them plug into cigarette lighters. This one happens to have a USB option on it, so I got the USB option, and it just plugs right into a USB jack, just like anything else. But it's a simple, cheap, inexpensive solution that was, again, like another project that I didn't really need to do. It's not really going to help. Well, I guess it does help operations, right? I mean, it is a it is a operations enhancement tool. So I guess from that point of view, it will serve that purpose. So should we get on to the, so I had two thoughts. At this point, I was thinking I would either give a little layout tour, because I've got the camera on the tripod set up so we can look around the layout, or I could just jump right into version 3.0 of the paperwork that I'm working on. So I'll give a second for some of the comments to come in, and I'm gonna just adjust the camera a little bit in case people do want a layout tour. The layout is completely operable. If anybody is in the area and they would like to come either just see it or have an op session, please reach out to me. Things are developing quickly, so every time people come over, things seem to change because everyone's got an opinion. Just like, well, you know what they say, opinions are like, and everyone's got one. So let's just say that. So why don't we start? Let's start with the north yard a little bit. Does that make sense? We'll go north to south. We'll see how this plays out. Any questions, ask away, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. So right now, I guess my head is kind of in the way, isn't it? My big old head is blocking the screen. Okay. Let's try this now. So this is the northernmost side of the layout. This area here is, as I mentioned, technically many, many miles north of any other part of the layout. If I had the space, this would be a staging yard either under this yard or, you know, in another room or something like that. It would not be here, but due to the constraints of the railroad, it is here. The size of it was very specifically designed. It can hold 6 8-car trains. And the reason why that is important is that we are basically running 4 trains from staging to the yard and from yard to swapping 4 trains. So being built for 6, it means I've got 1 spare track at all times where you could push, you know, 16 cars while you still have the other 32 on the other 2 tracks. So you're never going to get bogged down. Everything on the layout, as I said, is built for 8 cars. And so far that's been working out pretty well. The yard is the next thing you get to in the north. There are 3 yard tracks as well as a yard ladder and a passing siding on the yard. That is designed so that you can bring a train in on the passing side. Sorry, you can bring a train in on the yard ladder and run around it on the passing siding to get to the other side of it to then classify the cars or push them onto one of these 3 tracks here. Again, you can kind of see lengthwise, it lines up pretty perfectly with Selkirk up here, but it is shorter. So there is enough room or a very similar amount of room, but just a couple cars less. And it makes it a little harder to switch because there's less cars, but you do also have the yard ladder and the passing siding for extra trackage. So all in all, the trackage ends up being about, you know, the same up and down. We head just a little bit south from the main yard and we get to the area that is supporting this yard. I'm calling this yard and all of this area over here is called Cortland. Cortland, New York is, my understanding is it is the town in which Croton-on-Hudson exists, which is up there in the corner, which is where Croton-Harmon exists. So Croton-Harmon is in Croton-on-Hudson. They are all in Cortland. Cortland is in Westchester. I don't know. I don't get it either, but that's where we're at. So up here you can kind of see a caboose track. I'm going to slowly attempt to turn the camera without hopefully making too many people too nauseous. But caboose track, we got a whole engine facility here. 2 tracks that are really just the engine house, engine facility. This track here, my ultimate goal is to make this a fueling track. So it would be the track that the locomotives come, you know, in and out of to, you know, to get fuel when they need to. Right now, though, I just have so many locomotives on the layout that it's just full of locomotives right now. But that's just the way it is. I'm kind of, I can't have all the locomotives that I have on the layout. It just kind of locks down that area. But for now, you know, it's all good. In the back, way in the back here where you see Domino's Sugar, there is not actually a Domino's Sugar in Croton-on-Hudson. On my layout, there's a Domino's Sugar on Croton-on-Hudson. This is the northernmost industry. It is serviced by Cortland, this whole area. So the yard services that industry up there. It'll hold about 4 cars, and then there's a kind of a sharp corner. The industry is off of the main line. You can kind of make out there's 2 tracks back here. There's a main line, which is the track closest to the back wall, or not close, but if you ignore the industry, the main line is in the back, the yard track is in front of it. And the reason why I did that is because of this double slip right here. When you're classifying cars, you want as straight of a run as possible. So to keep that run straight, the yard track is basically straight off of the yard ladder. So it really helps. No, I do not need all those locomotives, but at this point, so the reason they're all there is because I want to get them all programmed. I want to get them all set up. I want to get them all broken in, and I pulled them all out for that reason. Some of those are very likely going to go into one of the drawers behind me, but so be it right now. Yeah, Bob, I have thought a lot about getting a dispatcher. I've decided that I am calling this the Riverside Transfer Short Line. The reason it is a short line and not a branch line is because the Human City Junction parent company only owns this section of railroad. Actually, once you get up to Selkirk, you're actually interchanging with the big old class ones. So this is not a branch line because it's not a class 1 branch, but it is a short line because it is its own railroad. You are kind of, because it is a short line, you are within yard limits kind of the whole way. So you don't really need a dispatcher, but I may have a dispatcher or bring a dispatcher in just to have the ability to have another person involved in the layout and involved in an op session. Excuse me one second. So once you leave this area, we're going to swing around and we end up in front of the, oh, that was the wrong thing to click. So after you leave this area, the main line and the yard track travel in front of the window. And I wanted to not have a lot of stuff in front of the window. It is still a working window. When you pull those drapes back, you can, see inside. This is where I have my programming track. The programming track is not connected to anything but itself. But this is where I can program locomotives. As you can see, there's another locomotive on the layout, which again, I don't need. And as Joey was asking, yes, I do have locomotives on pre-order, so there will at some point be more coming in the future. But so once you get past here in this area and this sort of narrow little area, this is going from, north basically down into the branch. The next thing you come to is the area that I'm calling Manhattanville. And this whole area here is Manhattanville. This is northern Manhattanville. This is southern Manhattanville. I don't really separate them by north and south. It just so happens that the two industries, one gets switched to the one side and the other gets switched to the other side. There is a kind of a main line and a passing siding here, but really when you're traveling south, you're going to want to be on this side, and when you're traveling north, you're going to want to be on this side. And that's just kind of the way it works out to switch things. But another runaround, another spot where you can, have 8 cars, 8 40-foot cars pass around them, kind of works out. Yeah. I know you didn't really ask. I know. So that is where I started, and that was version 1 was the micromark, and I have kind of, yeah. So what's on fire? I see smoke. Nothing in here, luckily. Nothing in here. Yeah, that's what I said too. I don't even know how many I have on pre-order. I have to go investigate and figure that out because yeah, I gotta figure that out. So after Manhattanville, right? So this is still Manhattanville over here on this side. In a perfect world, this track here, which is my main line between Manhattanville and between Riverside, would be straight. These areas would be much further apart. They wouldn't be so on top of each other. You can fit 8 cars in here though, so the front of your locomotive is never really going to be in the next town when you're switching, kind of. It does end up being there a little bit, but you know, I don't have a lot of space, doing what I can to kind of put some space in there. This area here is called Riverside. All of this is Riverside. Again, another 3-track yard with a yard ladder and a passing siding. Another engine facility of sorts. It's really just a track. I usually just have 1 locomotive here. The idea is these 6 axles will come off, and everything will be 4 axles. So maybe we'll have, you know, 2 4 axles here or something like that. In this area, there's also 2 arrival departure tracks. If you come to operate, you'll kind of understand why. This yard kind of uses one of them. The other one kind of gets used for stuff elsewhere. And then you kind of need the main line. Things are laid on top of each other is basically, oh, that is so funny. Oh, I know. I know. Guest operators wouldn't bring their own locos. They can. Dennis and Skill Trainboy brought a locomotive. I have more than enough locomotives on the layout that you wouldn't need to bring one. But you know, people can. I'm not as specific about like prototypes and like you can only run XYZ on the layout and stuff like that. So this is a small freight terminal here, 2 tracks. I believe it's 4 and 4, or maybe it's 4 and 3 cars. This car here was painted by Late Night Hobbies, Joey over at Late Night. This is actually an LNLX car instead of an HJCX car, but it is a Riverside transfer car, so it's a leased car on the Riverside transfer that I am leasing from Late Night. This track here is a team track. I can have up to 5 box cars on that team track, so these cars here would get unloaded in the freight facility. These cars here would get unloaded into box trucks that are parked in the area. This area is a bit congested. Again, in the real world, things would be spread out a little bit more, but from an ops point of view, an operations point of view, I thought having that little industry facility with Riverside Yard was important. It kind of a little bit mimics, you know, any of the various yards and stuff that were on the west side at the time. Yeah, Joey, absolutely, bring it down here. We can definitely run it. Steve 87th, you missed the thank you. I did have the Burley art out and showed that to everybody. So that was Steve's wife's recommendation. That's Steve right there. So say thank you, Steve. And while I am on this other camera, let's move the tripod. So now I am at the south side of Riverside Yard. So here's Riverside Yard. Here's that engine track that we were talking about. Here are the AD tracks and the main line that go through. It's a little bit of a complicated switching area here. Again, if I had more space, this would probably be a little bit differently. But this is all here because Riverside Yard supports this facility here. This is the Marine Department and the River Division. They get their supplies still from boxcars, so the Riverside Yard does support this facility as well. Riverside is also basically connected to the car float. Again, we've got a little bit of a situation where things are laid on top of each other, but this track here is the yard lead for Riverside Yard, whereas this track here is the car float lead. And then this track here would theoretically be the main line. From this direction, it is the main line. Now, if we turn the camera, and I'm going to try and turn this slowly, and maybe I'll get back to read some comments because I'm really far away to read comments. But if we come back to this area here, now you can see there's the transfer bridge onto the car float. And what you have is, let me settle the camera. So you've got the car float in the front, right? So Riverside Yard feeds the car float. Right now, there are 2 floats during each session. Your yard lead is right here. And then there's a crossover that will take you from the yard lead up into the IRT powerhouse area. Part of why this is here is because it gives another place to run around. So if you pull a locomotive in forward, and then you need to take the cars off of the yard lead and put them onto the car float, you need an escape route. So you can come here, escape out, get around the cars to get to the car float. But what I've also learned is that if you are switching the 3 tracks of the IRT powerhouse, you are going to use the main line and 80 track 1, or even the main line. I guess you could use the main line as well as your yard lead when you're working this facility. This facility is the southern, no, actually, this is, well, yeah, no, technically, this is the southernmost point on the layout. So that's 72nd Street. This is 69th Street. And then technically that's 59th Street. So that is the southernmost point of the layout. When I first designed this layout, that was going to be another similar staging yard like the one in the north. But once I started operating it, I realized that that has a lot of operating potential to make it a terminal storage building. So that's terminal storage. There's a freight terminal building in Riverside, and between those two, they are receiving and shipping off less than carload boxcars full of goods. So kind of like you might rent space on a truck, but you can't take up the entire truck. Back in the day, they used to do less than carload rail cars as well. So all of those facilities down there in the Riverside area are basically LCL, so they can have any cars pick up or drop off in those areas as long as they can do it. So era, I got a question, what era do I model? Kevin, the era is a little bit flexible. It is designed off of ideas from like 1968 to 1973. So after New York Central, Penn Central closed down the West Side branch, my company purchased the West Side branch to continue running it. So it's got a lot of prototypical influences from that. The car float is the 69th Street transfer, which if you go on the west side of Manhattan, it still actually exists. This is what, you know, I walk past it all the time, and just like, you know, they say model what you see, right? So that's kind of the way it worked out. In a perfect world, if I had more space, things would be more spread out. Things are a little compressed so that I could tell the story that I wanted to tell. And so far, that story's been, I think it's been going pretty well. But I've definitely have had some iterations and some changes. As I think it was K&R, probably Rich, I think is over there at K&R, said, he has the Micromark car card and waybill system. I started with that. I have, you know, I have a bunch of handwritten car cards and waybills somewhere. I don't know where they all are. Here's just an example. So I wrote out 212. Let's zoom in again. Shall we zoom in? So I have 212 of these, because right now the way the layout works is it holds 38 cars in a three-way rotation. So 38 plus 38 plus 38 is 114, I think it is. And then I have an additional, wait, how does it work? No, sorry. I have 4 sets of 53 waybills. I pull 38 of those 53 waybills for each session, and those 38 cars go from staging to the yard, yard to industry, industry back to staging, and that makes up the 200. It gets a little complicated. So this was version 1.0. I learned a lot. I didn't want to write out another 212, so I typed up another 212, but at the time I was still only using two-way waybills. So the way these are set up, cars go to the industry, cars go to staging. Now the problem with this is, as I mentioned, they go from staging to yard, yard to industry, industry back to staging. That's 3 steps. I was trying to use a two-way car card to have 3 moves. That wasn't working. It was confusing for people. It didn't work the way I wanted it to. So what I did was I made these two-way ones into 4-way ones, and this is what a blank 4-way one looks like. So it's got, 1, 2, and then on this side 3, 4. I tried and tried and tried, and I couldn't get them double-sided print. So this is what I needed the glue for. These are 2 pieces of cardstock, and they are glued together so that I have something back to back, which gives me a nice thick card. To make the 212 of these took me about 7 hours from printing to completion. So 7 hours isn't too bad. I basically sat upstairs at our kitchen table watching TV, and that's what I was using the Barely glue for, and why I reached out to Steve Anderson's wife to find out what for crafting she uses. Now, I could have probably just printed them on paper, folded the paper in half so that I had it on both sides. That's kind of what happened. I like, part of what I like about operations is the card aspect of them. So I like having a nice card. This is what they look like printed out. So this is the Micromark car card. I printed on a label, made labels, stuck them on this, and then these go in there. 4 sides, so it goes 1, 2. Sorry, technically this is 1 on this one. I know it's a little confusing. 2, 3, and then the 4th step is to pull the waybill. So when the cars come off the layout, the waybills get pulled, separated from the car card, and that is what gives me some randomness to the layout. The same car doesn't go to the same place all the time. Most, again, of what I have on the layout is freight houses, which take LCL loads, so any car can really go to any location down there. So this card now, because it has all 3 ways, when you pick up the car in staging, it tells you what yard it needs to go to. Once it goes to the yard, that's the end of that session. The next session, then, it tells you what industry it goes to. Then the next session, it tells you what yard it is going to leave the layout. Then it leaves the layout. I pull the waybills. So that's how this works. The next session we run is going to be this this what is kind of ending up being the first in the rotation. But yeah, I got these when Micromark was having a huge discount. I got these, so I still have them. I'll probably keep using them until I run out. Once I run out, then yeah, I will just print them and make my own. And just because I didn't spend enough time sitting there putting together car cards and waybills and gluing them together and doing this 600 times, I created these cards as well. I think my layout is going to require 3 operators. I think there is going to be a Cortland Yardmaster, which will be the north side of the layout, a Riverside Yardmaster, the south side of the layout, and then a short line engineer, which is going to do all of the work basically between the yards. Shuttle cars back and forth, switch the industries between the yards. I think that this layout has to be a 3 operator layout. So you pick your thing, you flip it over, and it tells you Cortland Yardmaster works Selkirk and Cortland, which is the north end of the layout. They classify and block cars for Cortland, Manhattanville, and the IRT Powerhouse. They do not work Riverside, 72nd Street, or 69th Street. So if you have a car in your yard that is supposed to work in Riverside, 72nd Street, or 69th Street, you send those cars to Riverside Yard. And then it's kind of the opposite with this job. You work Riverside, 72nd Street, and 69th Street. You do not work Selkirk, Cortland, Manhattanville, and the IRT Powerhouse. Any of the cars you don't work, you send up to the North Yard, Croton Harmon Yard. And then you've got the short line engineer. This one is a little more up in the air. Work with both yardmasters as needed. They are going to do the industry switching at Cortland, which is Croton Harmon in the corner, Manhattanville, which is that middle area, and then the IRT Powerhouse, which is the very, very south area. They are also going to run any of the trains that need to go between Riverside Yard and Croton Harmon, right? So as I said, if these jobs do not work these cars need to get from one area to the other. And the short line engineer, in addition to switching industries, will be bringing the cars back and forth. The last session we ran, to my shock, it was the Riverside Yardmaster that ended up with the most work. I thought it was going to be the Cortland Yardmaster. So we're going to run it again this weekend. We're running it again January 6th. We're going to see. We're going to see who has the most work. There's some conversations about only doing 2 operators. And basically these guys would do all of their shuttling. They'd do it on their own. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't think that really works. So the color code. The color code's kind of random-ish. The only colors that I really sort of thought about were 69th Street is red and Selkirk is blue. The reason being is that 69th Street is in the south, so 69th Street is hot, and Selkirk is in the north, so that is cold. Those are the only colors that are really... Oh, actually, that's not true. IRT Powerhouse is black because powerhouses and coal create a lot of soot, so that's why that's black. Cortland is yellow because it's a bright color. Riverdale is green because my color is green. The orange and the purple are kind of the way they are because I just chose those 2 colors, and I don't really know. So one of the other things I need to make up, I do have locomotive cards as well that I started making up. These are older, but I do have on here the functions as well that can slide in here. So if you are running this locomotive, you can take this with you, and then you have your functions. I do also have a work list. Basically, it breaks out all of these jobs. What is the order that I think these jobs should be run in. We're still working that out. That may change, but I'm kind of coming up with some sort of work order so that it's not just a complete guess for the operators. My original thought was that this is basically a switching puzzle with 3 operators. And my original thought was the 3 operators would just kind of figure it out. But there are some prototypical elements that I want to maintain. So to do that, setting up jobs, setting up the different trains when they run and stuff like that, I think is kind of important. And the reason for that is just, for example, I didn't have these cards at my last session, and the Riverside Yardmaster started working the IRT powerhouse, and things kind of got congested. It didn't gridlock the layout, but it got things a little congested. And this kind of giving them this map and telling them, like, IRT powerhouse, the swing guy, the short line engineer, he needs to work the IRT powerhouse first. Then when that's done, he gets out of the way. He's working Manhattanville, he's working Croton-on-Hudson, he's shuttling cars back between the 2 yards. He's not getting in the way of the Riverside Yardmaster then, as the Riverside Yardmaster needs to start pulling cars for the car float. So I think this is a good plan. I don't know, we'll see how well the plan works out. I'm not great at planning, I got to admit. I have not gotten to opening this letter yet that I got from Junction Senior. I will get to this, but as you can see, we're out of my time again. So that's the layout. That's kind of where I'm at. If you got any questions, go into the description of this video. I have a Discord channel. We can talk about all this stuff. There's a whole ops area in the Discord, or just reach out to me via email. My email's posted kind of everywhere if you want to come visit. I'd love to have people come visit. From the city that never sleeps, farewell, model citizens.
It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about